Guys, I'm excited. I don't know if you can see it on my face. I'm super excited because I have a special guest today. Well, who's the special guest? The special guest is my wife, Michelle Radney. So
Yay!
a lot of you guys may or may not know this about her. Michelle's a distinguished healthcare executive with more than 25 years of leadership experience. Most recently, she served as VP of U.S. Sales and Operations at Bristol Myers Squibb, leading a billion-dollar cell therapy portfolio. And she is the founder and host of Michelle's Seat at the Table, a podcast about leadership, community, and conversations that shape us. And I'm just super excited for you guys to see my lady on here doing her thing. I don't know what she's going to talk about. She wouldn't tell me, so I'm sitting over here just excited just to hear what she has to talk about. So I'm going to shut my mouth and say, Michelle, the floor is yours. Super excited to have you here. What you got for us today?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me good?
Yep.
Okay. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So, I want to say I am a product of David's coaching, just like everybody else. So, as he's coaching many of you, we we mastermind together at home, and I'm a part of the I Want It More Than I Fear It club. And so when David put the flyer out, I'm doing these talks about owning my seat at the table. And so I want to talk to you guys about what that means for me. But I want to start because when David does the work that he does, and if he goes somewhere, he's always talking about I want it more than I fear it. He's got the bracelet. I'm sure many of you have the bracelet. And I was a little nervous to come on today and have a conversation with you. And I talk in front of a lot of people, and I don't know, it feels different. I'm sure you guys feel that same way. It feels different when it's around your peers and people you know, and I'm a little out of my element. So, um, for me, one of the things I wanted to share is a little bit about my journey and why I want it more than I fear it, and how that comes to life for me, especially owning my seat at the table. And I left my corporate job. I had been in the industry for over 25 years. And I was probably a year and a half ago, I was on one of David's calls, and we were already claiming what we wanted. And it was in 2024, David, when I was came on the call, and it was one of the questions that you'd asked the team about what they wanted and what they were claiming. And I was claiming to get promoted to a vice president. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So I was wanting to be a vice president. I had done all of the work, I was doing all of the things. And it was later in that year that I became a vice president. And so I worked for a couple of companies, but I bring it back to that because it was about one, the work that I did and the mindset, and two, having that target, having that goal. It was something that I wanted to achieve. And back to I want it more than I fear it. I was always afraid that it was, I knew that I could do it. I knew that I was smart enough and in these corporate environments, but it was what goes along with that. What goes along with a vice president title at a Fortune 100 company? There's a lot. Of course, there aren't very many women in the roles. There aren't very many women of color. And I knew that I can do it. And I did it. I achieved it. I worked hard at it. I came home and David would ask me, what are you doing about this? And what's your goal on this? Same thing that he's asking you. How many of these meetings did you take? How many of, these leaders when it comes to the customers, what's the team doing? So I listen to the advice too. I'm getting the coaching, but it goes full circle for me because as I think about my career ambition and the things I wanted to do, it started really early. I was the first person in my family to go to college, and I was determined to go to school. I knew that from the life that I was living in Phoenix, my mom was a single mom, and the life that we were living, that she lived, I didn't want that to be my story. And so I wanted to shape my own story. And it was about my mindset, the determination that I had to reach success. And it's more than just saying it and putting it out there, but what's the work that you have to do? And so whether you're talking to your kids or whether you're talking to a client or the self-talk, right? You have to put it out there, but you have to take the steps. You have to do the work to achieve it. So I went to school. I was determined to finish college in 4 years because I couldn't afford it. The first part I couldn't afford it. And so certainly having another year of college was something I was trying to avoid. But I got my first job in the healthcare industry right out of college. And it was back to I want it more than I fear it, because I was 22, just got out of school, had never been in a corporate environment. I didn't come from a family that could guide me or coach me or tell me, here's what you do. Like, this is what having a corporate job looks like. Here's what it means. Here's what you should do when you show up. So I had to learn all of those things along the way. I had wonderful coaches and mentors and people in my life that helped me to get there and helped me to figure it out. But every day, what I did know is that I knew how to put in the work. I knew I could learn anything, I could study, I can open my mouth and talk in meetings, I can talk to customers, I could sell just about anything. And that's what I did. I was in a sales role. And as I progressed my career, more opportunities continued to come. So I won't get into the story of me and David and our marriage, but we met and got married almost 25 years ago. June will be 25 years. And along that journey, I had a great partner, and he was always my coach before push and all of this was a thing. David was my coach and my partner, my biggest cheerleader, even back then. And we made a determination long ago that we would go where opportunities led us. And so that's where we got from Texas, different parts of Texas, to New Jersey, and from Bergen County to Flemington, which is where we are now. And so it was having a partner and having a coach and someone boosting me up and someone telling me, you can do this. You're smart enough. What you need is already inside of you. And it's all of the things that he's saying to this group, about your mindset. And for me, it was a lot of resilience. Things didn't always go the way that I wanted them to go. Life wasn't always, fun or easy at work, but it was definitely getting up, making some mistakes, dusting myself off, finding my tribe of people who could help me get through those really difficult times, and leaning on my family and resilience. It was every time it didn't go the way I wanted, just got back up and started again, went back to work again. I had a horrible boss. That's okay. Shake that off. Keep doing the work. You know what you're supposed to do. And more opportunities continue to come. When I left my job in January, David said, you should start a podcast. He's been telling me to do this podcast. I never had time. I say time. I never had time to do this podcast, but I did. And I started this podcast. I'm having so much fun. So I do have a podcast. It's called Michelle's Seat at the Table. And as I started having these conversations, it's all the conversations that I had been having in my career and with my friends, conversation about the journey, not just the destination, but getting to whatever that table is for you. Some people in corporate, it's a boardroom, it's an executive role. It may be a journey of building a business on your own or a business of your own. And so it's about the journey and not necessarily the destination, but what are the steps along the way? And so we talk about leadership, we talk about authenticity, we talk about mentors and sponsors. And in a way to tie it back to the real estate business, we talk, what that means is a referral. It means fostering those relationships. And finished my first season, and I'm so excited. I'm already working on season number two. And last year in August, when we had David's book signing, there were a few people who said, "You really need to do this. You need to post on this Instagram page." And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't love Instagram." They said, "You need to do it." And so I started it. I put it out there, and I had some people who were holding me accountable and for looking for my posts. And so it's been a wonderful journey. I'm learning so much. And, I am owning my seat, not just my seat for my podcast, Michelle's seat at the table, but I'm owning my seat in other rooms, and I'm bringing voice to that and helping other people understand the journey and find their purpose so that they can own the seat at the table as well. And then what I will say along the way is one of the most challenging things for me was to manage my ambition and my family at the same time. And so women and men would ask me this question, how do you make it all work? How do you have this, really strong career and you've got this great family? And it takes a team. It takes partnership, which that's what I have with David. But I tell people, get as much help as you can afford, because I believe you can have it all, but you can't do it all. And so, whether that's in life or in work, get the support. Don't try to do it all by yourself. For a long time, I wanted to be the superwoman. I wanted to do it all and be it all. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting if you don't have to do all those things. And so ask for help. And when someone offers you the help, when they show up, be gracious and receive the help, which is not easy for a lot of people, not easy for me. But I managed to figure it out. And every step along the way, that's what I continue to do. So, like everybody else, I'm a part of the tribe and I want it more than I fear it. David, I don't know if you want, I don't want to take up too much time.
Well, I mean, listen, you can keep going if you have something to say. I love what you're talking about. And I do want to make sure that we do leave time, if you're open to it, for people if they have any questions for you about anything, about your podcast, about you, your career. So if you're open to doing some Q&A, I'm definitely open to that.
Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah, I love the whole thing that you said though. Like you can't do it all by yourself. You got to get the help. You got to have the leverage, and that's one thing we constantly talk about in real estate as well. You hear me talk about it, the three L's of real estate: leads, listing, and leverage. And it's so important to get leverage because you cannot and you should not do it all by yourself. So I really appreciate that message. So would you like to open it up for Q&A now, or do you want to wrap up before we do Q&A?
Let's open it up for Q&A, and then before we close, I'll say a few things.
Okay. So we're going to start off with Reiko. Y'all see why I love this lady though? I know that's good. Reiko, if you can unmute, I'll start you off with questions. Anyone else who has a question, either throw it in the chat and we can read it from there, or you can raise your hand. Reiko, what's up?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, obviously, most of us who have been around for a while absolutely adore you and love when you make an appearance, when you grace us with your presence.
Thank you.
I think having observed the array of people that come through these calls with David, many of them are currently transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship or are considering it. And so you are in that space currently. Do you find is there one key challenge that you have right now, or has there been a key challenge that you've overcome or are working to overcome while you make that transition?
Yes, there are several, but I'll go back to one that I mentioned earlier is there's so much to do, there's so much to learn. And I think it's easy to have a lot of activity. I hear David say this, but I am guilty of this. There are some days that I have a calendar full of things, but I'm like, okay, what's really the most important activity? What do I need to really be focused on? And I actually took my own advice and I just hired a virtual assistant 2 weeks ago. And I swear, I said to this man, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. I have a virtual assistant who's helping with my podcast. Because if you've listened or have watched any of the podcasts that for season one, I did them all. I recorded them, I edited them, I learned how to do the sound and, the audio, the visual part. It took me a long time. I like it, but it's not the best use of my time. And so for season two, I have some help for someone to help me with that part, not just the editing of the podcast episodes, but helping make some trailers and some shorts that you'll see, helping with my YouTube channel. So the work still has to be done, and it's my brand that I'm building, but I'm getting help doing it. And that's been one of the things, to answer your question, Reiko, that's been a learning for me. And while I'm figuring it out, I am learning to ask for help and talking to people. And the other thing, I have always been really good about networking. I go to networking events. I'm not shy about introducing myself. I use LinkedIn a lot in the corporate world. And I think in real estate, you should be on LinkedIn as well if you are not. I use LinkedIn a lot. And so I have been also in this time staying active from a corporate perspective. I've continued to leverage my network. In fact, I'm having dinner tonight with someone that I used to work with. It's about those relationships. You never know when the next opportunity is going to come. As I'm doing consulting, where can I help with some of these problems that companies are having that I know that my skills will help them to solve?
Great answer. And Rico, great question. Claudia's up next and then Cherry. Hey, Claudia, what's up?
Hey everyone. Oh my God, Michelle.
Hey, girl.
I've been chasing you forever. I mean, I knew the podcast was coming. I just want to tell you, I am just so incredibly proud of you. Like really.
Thank you.
And of course, I'm here to support you anytime, but I love that you touched on, like Reiko said, I think that transition is the hardest thing. Sometimes you're thinking about something forever and you don't execute. Can you give us a little dose on, did you plan on the execution? Was it planned? Did you just wake up one day and say, I'm doing it? Can you give us a little bit of the transition?
Yes. So there was always this thing in me. Sometimes David has to like pipe me down because I'm just a doer. I'm always working. There's always work to be done. And when you work from home, that makes it even harder because it never turns off. And for those of you who are in real estate, right, somebody could call you on a Saturday morning, they could call you on a Sunday afternoon or Thursday. So you have to create some boundaries. But when I left my corporate job at the end of the year, it was not with a clear, here's what's going to be next, but it was just, I got to work thinking about what I wanted to do next. I promised myself that I would take a break. So I actually did take a break. I never realized the impact of chronic stress. When I say I took a break, it wasn't like the rest that a week or two vacation provides. It was rest from a couple of months. It was rest from stepping away from an environment that no longer served me well. It was rest from my body, but for my soul, for my heart, time with my family. That's how I restore. I mean, it has been incredible. I have loved this time. But it then was figuring out what specifically was going to be the next steps and not having it all figured out, not having the plan, but one foot in front of the other in a plan every day that here are the things I'm going to do, here are the networks I'm going to reconnect with. I'm working on building Michelle's seat at the table. I'm doing some speaking engagements, which I'll close with some of that. and doing some consulting. And so it's finding what are the most meaningful things to be doing with my time rather than just being busy all the time, which is it's hard to do. There's a fine line.
Or would you say that the time gave you the clarity?
The time gave me the clarity as I was learning about podcasting. I had no idea about podcasting. I'd been on podcasts, but I didn't know how to do all of the things. And you can watch a few bit YouTube videos, or someone will say, "Oh, it's so easy. You just turn on your phone and hit record, and then you just put that out there." And yes, you can do that. That wasn't the product that I wanted to produce. And so it took a lot more time and lessons and listening to podcasts and watching videos on how to do it. So I did a boot camp, and I did it at my own leisure. I went to Mexico and sat on the beach for a week by myself, and I watched YouTube videos.
I love it. Well, listen, I am, like I said, so very proud of you and look forward to connecting with you and having you at Claim Your Throne Queen, to just give us all those gracious things that you just said and talked about. Thank you so much for answering
Thank
my
you.
question.
Thank you. David, I'll let you
Cherry
go find what's
Fisher is up
next.
next.
Hi, Cherry.
Good morning, Michelle. It
Good
is so
morning.
nice to meet you here. Good morning, everyone. D-Rad, the group. Thank you for being here. Your presence is just so peaceful and so grounding to me. I have 1,000 questions. I will not take all the time, but I will
Okay.
ask this. You've had quite the journey through corporate space and everything else, and now you're navigating your own podcast. When you're in that transition place, and the ebbs and flows of going for your goals, and you feel great one day, not the best the next day. You've shared delegation with us. You shared rest with us. Do you have any other practices that you use to get yourself out of that place in moments where you may feel discouraged, where you're building the thing but it hasn't been built yet?
Yeah. I'm working on that, quite
Okay.
honestly. Um, yes, all the points that you mentioned, but it's finding what's that one thing for you, and maybe, what brings internal motivation, whether it's meditation or prayer or going for a walk, someone that you trust that you can talk to, having, a buddy, a partner. I do think that those are important. But for me, I get so in my head about things. That's really where I get stuck, is not the best word, but I have to get it out of my head and onto paper. I'm still I've got a notepad in front of me right now. Some people are all electronic, but I'm still a pen and paper. And sometimes it just is, I have to get it out. I have a whiteboard in my
Mm,
office. I have a calendar that I could, use like whiteboard on. And so it's really just getting some of those ideas out of my head so that I can get unstuck to really prioritize what's going to be most important. What's the next best step and best use of my time? And sometimes, another quick tip,
mhm,
I leave my office and I go to the library, and that helps me, just get still and calm. There aren't the distractions of all of the things here. I can't go put a load of laundry in. I
mhm.
can't go downstairs and, oh, there's a couple of dishes. So if I leave and I have a place where I can really focus, that also helps.
I love that. Thank you. Because I'm an overthinker and I'm a writer too. So I completely get it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And D-Red, thank you
Thank
for
you.
bringing her on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jerry. Ira, you're up next. What you got, Ira?
Michelle, it's always great to see you.
Hi,
And
Ira. Good
you
to
look
see you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
I congratulate you for making that really tough decision to actually leave something that was providing a good source of income, a great career path, but apparently it wasn't enough. And so the courage that it takes is just fantastic. Corporate left me. And I guess I was just too complacent and too comfortable and making good money and whatever. And I should have left years ago. and done what I'm doing now. So I just wanted to congratulate you on making this gigantic move and
Thank you.
and planning it out and figuring out how to take the next steps in your journey. It's really, really good.
Thank you. Well, it's a bit twofold, Ira. So BMS, like many companies, was going through structure changes. They were flattening the organization. And this goes to me standing up for myself because, as I mentioned earlier, I was a vice president in two different parts of the business. I led a sales team of over 300. I managed a book of business that was over $1 billion. And they wanted to change my title from a vice president to an executive director to go back. And your girl wasn't here for that.
Wow.
And I said, no, thank you.
Got it. Yep. Yeah.
So it's not easy though, but you're for all of the reasons that you described, and many people stay in corporate jobs for the obvious, it's good money. There's a lot of benefits that come with it. We support our families, but it was really about I worked so hard to achieve a certain level. And I'd gotten to the point where it was just, I don't need that anymore. I achieved it. It was great, but I certainly wasn't going to work as hard for a lower title, possibly lower pay. And that's what in some corporations happens. And a lot of corporations in the pharmaceutical industry are making significant sweeping changes. But some people, either they don't have the courage or they don't have the financial means. We've been smart with our money. And so I didn't feel like I needed to, walk out the door and get a job in 2 months, or else, we weren't going to be able to pay our mortgage. So it also was easier for me than a lot of people. And I recognize, how blessed and how fortunate we are, but we've been smart along the way. And so no one can ever determine, what's going to happen if you work for somebody else and not yourself come tomorrow. And so while it wasn't necessarily this was going to be the step, but God has a perfect plan. And I already know that He has provision for my family and for me. And He will direct my steps and the people who come into my life and the people who I will invite to my table and the people who have invited me to their table.
Love it.
Great.
I'm gonna
I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. I'm going to let Betty go, and then Shell, I'm going to have you wrap up, and then Brenda has her final word of the day.
Okay.
You're up.
Okay, so of course, it is always a pleasure to see you, Michelle. You know
Hi,
how I
girl.
feel about you. Just a few things I just wanted to say. You are truly an inspiration. And I know you said you have speaking engagements, but I don't know if this is on your to-do list, but please make sure that you take some time, maybe when they have career days at high schools, colleges, even middle schools, because your story, I love what you said. The way, I mean, I'm not saying it the same way you said, but the way your mother lived, you made sure that you wanted and you made sure that you did different. And sometimes young women need to hear that. You understand what I'm saying? And
Yep.
to see the proof. It's easy to talk about, you could tell somebody something or whatever, but to see living proof, that is amazing. Okay.
Thank
So I
you.
truly want to say that. Then I also wanted to ask two questions really quickly. What are you reading now? Well, it's three questions actually. What are you reading now? What would you suggest a person in sales to read? Right. And then just one piece of advice that you would give a person in sales, being we're realtors, we're in sales. That's
Yeah.
it.
Okay. What I am reading now is a book that somebody that I work with, she does training, and it is called The Corporate Compass. And she talks about, she's going to be a guest on my podcast. she talks about, her name is Julie Dinkin, and she talks about when we start at companies, they give you a playbook, they give you, here's like the rules of the road, but she talks about all of the things that are not in this playbook, the things that they don't tell you when you join the company, the unwritten rules. I think it's a really, really good book. For those who are in sales, I would say read David Radney's book. I want it more than I fear it. And sales and in real estate. And then the other thing, just from a what to do, I say just do it, right? Don't overthink it. It sometimes is the most basic things. What you all know from a real estate perspective is the people aren't coming to you. And so you can't sit in your office and with your fancy business cards and think that the business is just going to come. You have to constantly be out there. And right now, people's attention spans are really short. And so what made you successful 5 years ago, or if you're struggling today, like you have to constantly be active, be talking to people, be on the phones, be talking to other realtors so that you can understand what it is that they're doing, but also talk to people who are not in your neighborhood or in the area that you're in, because referring is a real source of business that I do think is an opportunity for real estate agents.
Love it. Thank you, Betty, for your questions. And Shell, I know you had something you wanted to say about speaking in order to wrap up, and then I'm going to let Brenda get her word of the day in. So thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
For you to wrap up, you're owning your seat at the table with your final word.
So my final word is back to some of the things that I'm talking about. And there is a formula that I want to share with you. I use it for corporate, but I'm going to try to make it relevant also for real estate. So it is called PIE, P-I-E. And when we go and do our jobs, most people think if I just do the thing, if I make the numbers, they'll speak for themselves, but that's not always true. So the P stands for performance, the I stands for image, and the E stands for exposure. But where the trick lies is that in that pie, in that 3 slices, exposure is 60% of that pie. So you have to have the exposure, which means the visibility, the networking, it's the referrals. 30% of it is image. And image is not what outfit you have on necessarily. It is about how people see you as a thought leader. Are you an expert in your area? How is your communication? What is your confidence? And then 10% is results. That pie, performance, image, exposure. That's what I want to leave you with, and make sure that every day you're doing your best, and your mindset is part of how you get that started. Thank you for the time and the opportunity. I appreciate you asking me to come on, David, as much as it made me a little bit nervous.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for dropping some knowledge. And I love the pie, and we can definitely tie that in and relate to what we do every day in real estate. So thank you for being here. If you can stay on to hear
Yeah.
Brenda's final word. Brenda, what's up, B? I appreciate you being here. Why don't you wrap us up with one of your good words of the day?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Michelle.
Hey,
Good to see
Brenda.
you.
Good to see you too.
Here we go. The greatest thief in life is waiting. Everyone waits for tomorrow, for Friday, for vacation, for more money, for the perfect moment. And while you wait, life passes and dream stays hidden away. Time does not warn you. It does not slow down. It simply moves on. Do not wait to live. When you love yourself, you grow from the inside. You attract people who love, respect, and appreciate you. Everything starts with you. And I'll leave you with this. A new day means new strength, new opportunities, and another chance to move closer to your goals. No matter how yesterday went, today is a fresh beginning. Believe in yourself. Stay positive and keep going. You're capable of amazing things. Have a beautiful and productive day ahead. Bye.
Great word, Brenda. And I will tell you, there are a lot of people here who are transitioning, who are dual career, who are in corporate looking to get into real estate. And you guys heard what Michelle said about that. And you also heard what Ira said. Ira said, I wish I did it years ago. So there, now is the time to make that move. And you're the best bet you can make. Bet on yourself. I love that message, Brenda. I'm gonna let you guys go so you can get your day started. What do we have today? We got the war room. I'm headed to the war room to make calls. I trust that you guys will join me and be in there making calls as well. And guys, we're back, 20% streak. I know we had a 3-day weekend. We got to reset today. So I already did a post. Let's get in there, talk about our 20%, and let's go get after it. I will share Michelle's information about her podcast for those of you who want to listen to it. I'll put it in the Scoop community. I'll put the Spotify link or the link to her link tree, and you can choose if you want to listen to it on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music. I'll share that information. Some really great episodes. And I highly recommend you guys watch the one on negotiations, because as real estate agents, we need to talk about that more. And it was a really, really good episode. So, baby, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon.